Hey guys, it's Brian. Before you go ahead and do anything else, make sure you leave a like and subscribe and turn on those notifications if you want to see more content like this in the future. Anyways, on to the video. Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome back to another Yugioh video. And so today we have kind of an interesting video. So I'm actually participating in the LCS tomorrow, and while I was playing ranked, just making sure to test things out, I happened to run into THUNDERTHEORY of all people, who's actually commentating the event. So if you're not familiar with his content, he does great content, usually about meta-relevant stuff, gives him his own perspective and his own experience. So please feel free to go ahead and check out his channel. I'll leave a link to the description below, and I'll also leave a link to his channel in the eye above. So we happened to run each other on ranked, and it was kind of interesting to say the least. It wasn't really good, but I wanted to go ahead and take the time to go ahead and give him a shout out since he is going to be commentating the LCS. Feel free to check it out tomorrow on the Luxury Gaming in Twitch. And if you want to go ahead and wish me luck in the LCS tomorrow, feel free to leave a like. It really does help out a lot, and lets me know you guys are supporting me throughout the event. So let's go ahead and check this out. So as you can see here, that we both opened up pretty decent go second hands, but for going first is not really that good. But however, we both have somewhat things we can do going first. So I've played against him where he's played Thunder Dragon, and I also played him when he's playing Shaddoll. So I know he has multiple decks available, but I've played more of his Shaddoll than anything, so I really wasn't thinking about it, but I couldn't really say that he was playing the deck. So as you can see, I do have the Super Poly here, which is really good in the mirror, because you just clear their board. So he starts out with Shaddoll Fusion, and I'm debating here if I should throw out the Ash, because I want him, because if anything, I can make the Shaddoll Fusion live. Or if I want to go ahead and just let him risk running into a Gamma, like I can risk myself running into a Gamma or anything like that, or Call by the Grave, which is possible, or even a Triple Tactics. Because Shaddoll, as much as I like to say is one of my favorite decks of all time, it does have this flaw where one hand trap could really kill all your momentum. So I decided to go ahead and just use the Ash here, so you can negate the Shaddoll Fusion, so he doesn't get as much advantage as he possibly could. So here he decides to go ahead and just use Invocation here to go into Construct, and with Construct and Hog, he's going to go ahead and add the Skomata, dump the Schism, link it to the Gravity Controller to get the Schism back, sets the Skomata and Schism and passes. And here I draw into Ghost Ball, which is really key here, because that means if he tries to use Schism, I can go ahead and just negate it. So I go ahead and use Shaddoll Fusion here, since he does have the Extract Monster. I was just going to go ahead and banish everything that's important in his graveyard. And if he did activate Schism, I was going to make Affluence to go ahead and negate it. So he decides to just scoop it up. So heading into game 2, so it's a little bit interesting here because I have Bell and Phantasma in hand, and with Bell I can go ahead and use it on either Nadir, on Invocation, Field, or Grave Effect. Keep that in mind. And even the Apple, if I really want to go ahead and let the Nadir through so he can't use his extra deck. So I decide to go ahead, and with this hand I go for Meltdown first, to go ahead and get the Alistair here. And after using that, instead of summoning the Alistair to go ahead and leave extra monster on board with, well, let's say Mechaba, because if I would have had Wendy in hand, I would have made Raijin for sure, because that way, if he tries to go ahead and use Shaddoll Fusion, he has to use materials from his hand, because I'm going to go ahead and use Raijin's effect to set it face down. So I go ahead and use Nadir, pitch the Apclone, goes through fine, no problem. I get the Ecclesia. Use the Apclone effect to go ahead and get the Schism. Schism effect, resolution of Apclone to go ahead and send Skamata. That way I have materials for the Schism. I send Wendy just to have extra insurance in case he has DD Crow or even Psycho Reader. Get the Beast on board. Normal summon out the Ecclesia. So go ahead and get the Fleur-de-Lis. And I set the Schism. So I made sure not to leave an extra monster and not leave myself open to Super Poly as hard, since, sorry about that, since what happens is that whenever you leave a Super Poly target on board, especially with Shaddoll, it's going to leave a point where it's going to start snowballing, in a sense where you're going to get multiple effects. You're going to go ahead and get multiple cards to be baited out and used. So with that one card, even though it's a 2-for-1 in that moment, it will generate a lot of advantage just off that one interaction. So he goes ahead and uses Meltdown. Of course I can't stop it. I am tempted to use a Schism once the Alistair reaches on board. So I was going to go ahead and try and negate the Meltdown so I can use the Bell on the Invocation. Fortunately for me, he does have Cosmic, so he goes ahead and banishes my Schism. So he does get his Invocation. And here he links away into the Artemis, which is good because I'm going to go ahead and immediately go into Phantasme. Draw 2. And when I drew the Lancia and the Ash, I was debating on keeping the Ash and Lancia and Bell, but if I wanted to go ahead and risk the putting back the Alistair or putting back the Fleur-de-Lis. And at the end of the day, I decided to go ahead and put back the Fleur-de-Lis because I can still search it. So I go ahead and use Lancia on the Invocation. If he has Call by the Grave, I have the Bell to go ahead and counteract that. He activates Nadir here, and I Ash it right away, which is the correct play because you don't want to go ahead and negate the activation of Nadir to give your opponent still having access to their extra deck. So he goes ahead and uses his Pot of Prosperity. I do want to point out the following. Prosperity is a good card in Invoke Shaddoll. However, it depends on your build, especially your extra deck, because of the fact that with my build, I personally value my extra deck to the point where I always see that every one of my options come up. So I don't go for that play, even though I could put the card in. I did test it out before. However, because of the fact that I wouldn't be able to extend my grind game, I decided to go ahead and just put in something like Talents instead, because it still advances my game state in case my opponent decides to hand trap me or use any kind of monster effect. So it's great going first or second. So as you saw, he milled the Alistair, Shaddoll Fusion, and the Nadir Servant. He already activated the Nadir Servant. He can't use his extra deck, so all three of them are pretty bad in this sense. So he has to really depend on getting rid of my board. But at this point, it's not going to be enough because I will be able to just OTK him in the following turn. So he decides to go ahead and just scoop it up. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, make sure you leave a like if you want to go ahead and see me do well in LCS tomorrow, and feel free to check out Thunder Theory. Again, I'll leave his links in the description and below and in the eye above. Anyways, see ya.